Okay. This is the Two Player Podcast. You may have heard of it. We used to have a podcast called the Two Player Podcast, and then we took a long break, mainly due to the fact that that's what we do. We just take long breaks between podcasts. Today we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch, which was officially unveiled last night in Tokyo. And just to get the introductions out of the way, my name is Erik Kane.
My name is Paul Tassi.
And we're the Two Player Podcast. So we're just going to talk about the Switch. Paul, why don't you just give your impressions, a brief impression of what you took away from last night.
All right. My general impression is that this was a better kind of presentation and reveal than what we saw with the Wii U. I am kind of concerned about the long-term health of the Switch and what it's going to be like in the next few years. From everything I've seen, I think it's going to have a pretty strong launch. It's already selling out pre-orders and this and that and whatever. And that's great, and that's kind of expected because you also don't really know how much Nintendo's supplying anyway, so that could kind of mean anything. But with Zelda as a launch title, that is obviously a really strong thing for them to have up front. With that said, just so many things about the Switch remind me of the Wii U, and there don't seem to be that many kind of fundamental changes in Nintendo's kind of home console philosophy that I'm worried that things are kind of just going to go the same way. No very minimal third-party support. It's underpowered compared to its competition. Its central gimmick could be cool, but how will it actually kind of prove itself in the real world? So I think it might start strong. I am in many ways kind of worried about where it's going to go over the next few years, and it seems likely to repeat a lot of the mistakes of the Wii U, at least from what I'm initially seeing.
Yeah, I could see that. On the one hand, though, it's also kind of the opposite of the Wii U because it reverses what the Wii U did. Instead of having a stationary home console with a tablet controller that's tethered to it, this one you can take anywhere. Then the machine is actually in the tablet, so it is sort of fundamentally different a piece of technology. Though I also have wondered how much will that portable function be used, considering it's not necessarily portable in the same way that a 3DS is. A 3DS can close. It's small. This is a little bigger. And it doesn't have the same kind of protection that a 3DS has. So I do wonder about that.
Well, what I wonder about is something Nintendo just really hasn't touched on at all, which is what really is their plan for their whole handheld division going forward. All we really know is that the Wii, or not the Wii, the 3DS is being supported through this next year, and the Switch has portable functionality, but how are these things working together? Is the Switch kind of going to ultimately replace the 3DS? Is the 3DS going to live for 3 or 4 more years? Is there some new device coming? Is Nintendo just going to make mobile games? They haven't really explained kind of what they're going to do. So that leaves kind of this question about how, even if this has portability as core functionality, how does that work with Nintendo's other products? And what does that actually mean? Because in my view, it even looked like they were kind of downplaying the portability of it in the presentation itself, which seems so weird because that's the core concept of the system. But fundamentally, I do think that the ability to take console games on the go is a lot better and more useful than the Wii U's gamepad gimmick, for sure. And I think right off the bat, that's a good thing. I'm just very confused as to what Nintendo's ultimate plan is for the concept of a handheld game.
So what you're saying is that Nintendo is confusing you. That's so
shocking. Nintendo is being unclear.
Yeah. I wonder if it's that they don't fully have a plan yet because, really, this sort of technology hasn't been tested that much. So if gamers end up using the portable function a lot, they might be able to move away from the 3DS and just pump all their games into one line, which would really save them a lot of time and money, I think, developing for just one platform. On the other hand, if people just generally use it at home and it doesn't really take off as a portable, then they probably don't want to get rid of the 3DS yet, because that would be shooting themselves in the foot, which is another thing that Nintendo seems really good at. But
well, that's the other thing. I've said this before, I think, where you have to keep in mind that Nintendo's handhelds have been just wildly successful sellers by themselves. So, like, if the 3DS is phased out, like the 3DS has sold, what, 60 million units or something? And, like, to the Wii U's 13 million? So what happens if the Switch is just it? And, like, you can cut costs for combining the departments and, whatever. But fundamentally, I mean, that's 60 billion units of, $200, $250, $150, whatever the price is at the time, that isn't selling. And then but the Switch is just one device at one price. So that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I mentioned this in an email earlier, but I kind of feel like they probably need to follow up the 3DS with another portable only device that is like the 3DS, but that is on the Switch platform, like a mini Switch, because I feel like you're right. I mean, they don't want to they shouldn't get rid of the handheld market, but at the same time, it's sort of a shame to be developing games for two different portable platforms. It just seems like kind of a waste when they could be just developing across one platform. Like anything that works on the Switch works on the Switch Mini. They all, but it only is portable. It's smaller, it's cheaper, whatever, Like it just seems like we're so early on that it's just so hard to say what's going to happen.
I like that idea. My only question about it would be, like, how would that not cannibalize, I guess, the existing Switch if they're running the same games? Because at least with handhelds and consoles now, they're running pretty drastically different games. But if someone has a Switch Mini, like when would you buy that on top of a regular Switch? You know what I mean? Like, would you? I mean,
I don't know. I guess that's a good question.
I mean, they're in just a tough spot, kind of regardless of what they do, because just the handheld market is going to phones and tablets. I mean, that's just the way it is. And even they're making phone and tablet games now.
Right.
So it's like, but it's been such a huge part of their business for so long, they can't just abandon it. I don't know. It's a really tough position for them to be in, and I don't envy that at all. But I don't think they've been clear at all about what their actual plans are. I mean, maybe they don't even know yet, but.
Yeah, I mean, on a certain level, they have to just sort of see what happens, because this is a new experiment. Every one of their consoles is kind of like, here's our new experiment, our new gimmick. Let's see how it works. The Wii U was a total failure, but also the Wii U was a failure because of marketing, I think. Well, there was two things I think that really, really drastically hurt the Wii U. One was that it was called the Wii U, because everyone just thought it was the Wii. Like, so many people didn't know what the hell was going on that nobody went out and they were like, oh, it's a new console. I mean, with the Switch, at least, people can say, oh, it's the Switch. It's different, and it's pretty distinct, and it's a good, catchy name, and they've got the branding going for it. I feel like they've done that all a lot better than with the Wii U. The other thing that I think sunk the Wii U was that they had just moved over from standard definition to high definition game development, and they realized that took a lot more time and effort. And they had a shortage of content for a long time. And that's where my real concern for the Switch is right now. Even though they should have learned that lesson, there's one game launching with the Switch. There's a couple little games that really don't matter that much. I mean, maybe they'll be cute and fun or whatever. And then there's some third-party stuff that's already out on other consoles, like Skylanders and Skyrim and stuff like that.
You hear Skyrim's not even coming out until next fall.
Is it not next fall? Oh, why?
And it's not even special edition. It's just like its own Switch Skyrim. It's not even like special edition remastered.
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh my God. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's probably good, because it is kind of a lower powered machine. So, I mean, really, Skyrim isn't going to be a huge draw, because Zelda is Skyrim for Nintendo, and that looks like a great game. And that trailer, I thought,
Skyrim is a great metaphor for kind of third-party support for Nintendo, because it's like a 5-year-old game that has been out on every platform on Earth, and or
like Rayman Legends.
Yeah, Rayman Legends was what, 2013.
Well, that was a Wii U.
Yeah,
that was a Wii U launch title, exclusive from Ubisoft. But now it's re-releasing on the Switch years later, and it's one of 3 games that they're bringing. It's Steep, Just Dance, and Rayman Legends. That's
not even a Watch Dogs port or something like.
No, nothing major. Which is surprising, kind of. I thought that maybe they would bring something bigger and more surprising to the table.
That was the most like a big third-party dev did bring was like 3 different games. Like, I mean, EA showed up with FIFA, and Bethesda has Skyrim, but like, and Ubisoft had, I guess, 3 games, even if 2 of them are old. Like,
yeah,
it's just like this is the core reason I keep connecting the Wii U and the Switch, and I guess even in the Wii, but it's nothing has changed. Like, not really. Like, you're gonna get 2 to 3 to maybe 4 like good exclusive games probably for the Switch every year, and you are going to get almost no third-party ports of big AAA blockbusters, if any. And like, if you made Sony or Microsoft survive only on first-party games, they would be dead. You couldn't do that. And Nintendo has a better exclusive lineup than everybody. Like, everybody knows that, but it's still just, it's not enough. You're missing out on a dozen at least of the biggest games of the year every year if you choose the Switch to be your only console. That is almost certainly what's going to happen. So once again, it's positioned itself as a secondary console, which might be fine, and I'm sure it'll sell a bunch of stuff, and Zelda will sell copies of it and whatever, but that is not a healthy position for someone who wants to once again be a market leader to be in. And that's why ultimately, despite portability and this and that, I don't think that much has changed.
Well, that's why I say that ideally Nintendo needs to get away from developing for the 3DS. Although, I mean, I don't think they should do that right away, but ideally they need to have all of their development pipeline for one platform, because they could put out so much more content. Because if they're not going to get third-party support, then they need to have lots of first-party. And one thing you see with the 3DS is there's, quite a few releases for that system, and quite a lot more than the Wii U in the past couple of years. Now, if all those games that are being developed for 3DS were being developed for Switch, if all of their development was going to Switch, they'd have a lot more content. And yeah, you'd still be missing out on the big third-party stuff, like the Call of Duties and everything. But at least, if you owned a Switch, you would be getting quite a lot to choose from. And then that, I describe the relationship with third parties with Nintendo as a vicious spiral, because what happens is there's not enough content, and so they don't sell enough units, and so then third parties don't come on board because there's just not a big enough. It's like Apple. There's just not enough gamers on Macs for all these companies to make games for Mac. And it's the same thing is happening with Nintendo. It's not enough, so these companies aren't coming, and then there's a vicious spiral. And, there could be a reverse of that where, Nintendo's putting out enough content that more people buy their system, and then more of these other companies decide to make games for it. But that's much harder to have that.
I think that's part of it, because I think that is an aspect of it. But then you had the Wii that had all the biggest install base in the world, and yet still there were pretty much no good ports for it. And I think the issue, in my perspective, is more Nintendo keeps making it really damn hard for these blockbusters to even exist on a technical level on these consoles. Because, I mean, I still don't even know the exact specs, but I think the Switch is less powerful than even an Xbox One. I'm pretty sure. That's what it seems like.
I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close to an Xbox One. But it's kind of it's kind of apples to oranges given the different hardware.
So the architecture is like so different, but fundamentally, like, and then it has the switching between the screen part, which has to run and using all these specs, and then you put it in, and then it can or cannot switch to greater specs on the TV, and like that is yet another barrier that's been put in. That's going to be additional development and this and that, and like that's. I've heard the developers are even upset now about like the PS4 Pro PS4 split, and like if that's upsetting them, like the stuff Nintendo's doing with that kind of splits, where it's even like lower tech specs, that's got to be kind of nightmarish. So I think that's got to be a factor as well, because these systems or like people didn't want to do gamepad stuff last generation. Now they're not going to want to do like, how does my game run on the mobile port, or like how does it do it on the TV?
I mean, on the one hand, it's a little less. I think it should be a little less of a barrier than the gamepad was, because the gamepad was effectively a second screen, and so it you'd have the image here and on the screen, and they were trying to encourage developers to use both of those, like Wonderful 101, where you do stuff down here, or that's terrible Star Fox game where you had to, whereas in the Switch, at least when you dock it's played on the TV. It's just one screen, one screen, both places. So theoretically, and I'm not a game developer, but theoretically, I would think that this is slightly less of a barrier than developing for the Wii U. It's more like, I think the PS4 Pro example, I could see how developers would be upset, but again, it makes consoles just a little bit more like developing for PC or other platforms that have, multiple different factors, different specs that you have to work with. It's still easier than that. And developers managed to develop for Android, which could, have, dozens of different hardware specs for that. But, I don't know. So I think that's probably less of an issue. I wonder how much of it comes down not just to like the gimmick, but to Nintendo's relationship with these other third parties. Because it seems like the one thing that Sony really has done well, especially, is work with so many different companies to get exclusives, to get and on cross-platform stuff, and with the indie community. And they've really, for better or worse, there's bad examples of that too, like No Man's Sky, I would say, but at least they've developed all these relationships, and they've really, and then so of course they have tons of third party. Nintendo, on the other hand, because the last two systems really haven't had much if any, hasn't really developed that kind of important relationship with these
It's not even just that; it's their whole history. They've never really had to rely on third parties for the most part. True. Think back to every console. Like back when they were the market leader, the consoles were still being sold on the strength of Nintendo exclusives because there weren't all that many crazy big third party games around like decades ago. So,
but they still had more. I think, of a relationship with like Konami and different especially Japanese third parties, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that in a way those companies have moved over to Sony a lot. We're not seeing like Castlevania come out on Nintendo, so yeah, I think you're right, but I think it's gotten maybe even, I don't know, I can't say this for sure, but it seems to have gotten worse.
Yeah, for sure.
And it shouldn't be. Really, Nintendo, I know they want to do their own thing and march to the beat of their own drum, but I think they can have it both ways to some degree. I really feel like they could be doing more. But I don't know. I don't know
about Nintendo. But
what about the games? Like, let's talk about the games that they showed off. I'm really excited about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because it looks like it has a real battle mode in it. And that's cool. I love Mario Kart, so I'm perfectly happy to play that again on the Switch. And I'm excited for Zelda, of course. Although it is looking quite different from past Zeldas. And then Mario is a weird one. I was really surprised to see Mario.
It's so creepy.
Like in the real cities and stuff. It was kind of jarring. I'm still excited for it because I do love Mario games, but it was so different looking.
It looks like a mod or something. Like someone put Mario into like GTA 3 or
I wonder if you can sniper people from the rooftops.
Yeah, I know. I joked that it was like a prequel about his time as a plumber in like New York City. I'm sure it'll be good, and like it looked good. It was just the range of environments. Like there's like one like really kind of blocky, pixelated like traditional island world, and then there's like New York City with cabs and like people that have normal proportions. And, what is? Everyone's comparing it to that Sonic Adventure game when like he did kind of the real world thing like a while ago, and like I imagine it won't be that ridiculously bad, but it was just strange. I'll say that. And I don't think it'll hit that release window. It's just anything that's being predicted is holiday 2017 now is probably about a 60% chance to be delayed. It's my guess. It's probably 90% if it's Nintendo, but
well, that really can't afford to do that. They need to have a strong first holiday, and
yes,
that leads me to my point. Like, okay, so a lot of people are really upset that they're releasing at $299 instead of $250, but I think it's fine because I think they needed to release at a higher price than what they are going to sell it for at Christmas. If they released it at $250, they'd have to be selling it at $200 at Christmas, or at $250 with a bundle, and that's too cheap. So right now you're gonna, and this is how all hardware works. You release it at one price. People that want it that bad, they'll buy it at that price, and then a little bit down the road, you lower the price, and then a whole other group of people comes in to buy it.
Look at the Wii U. They haven't done that at all with the Wii U, really.
Well, they gave up on the Wii U.
Super high price. But no, I totally agree with you. I mean, I know the markets and people were upset about 300, but that's really the only price that makes any amount of sense to me. I mean, given the market and given the demands, like, and if you adjust $250 for inflation in 2006, it's $300. Like, I don't see how they could have gone lower without taking like some really big hits. But
I agree. You know, and if they do release like a Switch Mini down the road, they could release that at a lower cost, maybe, since it wouldn't have the docking functionality. Or I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's a fine price. I think that I would say that the real issue for me is lack of content at launch, and I just don't understand, because this is, how many times have we said this? Not just about Nintendo, but about like, Sony and Microsoft pretty much did the same thing. Not as bad, not as egregiously, but like when the PS4 and Xbox One launched, when the Wii U launched, all of these consoles are launching and they don't have a killer app. You know, I mean, Sony. I mean, at least there is one for the Switch. There is Zelda, but they should have, several within the first month or two. They should have several big releases, and they just don't have that. And it seems to me like that can really suck the air. Like, why not just wait?
Well, it's going to be a really interesting launch, because there hasn't been a console launch, like a major console launch, in not the fall, like the holiday season, for ages, like 15 years or something. So to have a console come out in March is kind of unprecedented. So what I feel like it's going to do is, like, you'll have this big initial burst of sales, like right up front, and all the the pre-orders and stuff, and then it'll kind of be this, maybe like a slow build toward the holiday, and then by the time the holiday hits, theoretically, they should have, Zelda, Splatoon 2, Mario, maybe Xenoblade. And then it could be like, okay, this is a holiday thing now to get this kind of price. Like, it has a stable of games now. Like, this is a good product. And like, maybe that'll mean kind of a slow start for the first 8 months or whatever, which is obviously not great, but it could work. Like, I can kind of see the logic in that. It's just we've never seen that. Like, we've never seen someone try and do this for eons, so I don't really know how it'll go. But that's like the only silver lining I could see. But even that, I'm not sure if that's going to pan out.
Well, and they could, if they do have a strong launch, if they do perform well in March, it's possible they can get some more buy-in from third parties by Christmas also. I mean, I don't know if that's enough time, but it would be amazing if by Christmas we found out that, the new Assassin's Creed and the new Call of Duty were both coming out on the Switch. That would be a huge win for them. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. But it would be cool. They could really market the hell out of that, being able to like play Call of Duty on the go, being able to play Assassin's Creed on the friggin' train or whatever, I think that would be a huge win for Nintendo. And
yeah, exactly. If Sony or Microsoft could pull that off, that would be like, game over for the other party. Like, just to have all those games accessible on the go, like, that is fantastic. But if it's only just Nintendo and their first party games and none of those games, then it's like, okay, it's still good, but it could be just so much better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But and I hope that, I think that if they could just pull that off, I think it would inspire so much confidence and consumers and in markets and everything. Let's see.
The online service.
The what now?
The online service. You
have
to pay for
the
it.
Online service. That
I just read
it's like, hey, no region locking. Oh, paid multiplayer. Great. Yeah, you were mentioning you use like a phone app to.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the primary way you like matchmaking talk, but like the fact that even exists for some weird reason, I don't really understand. And the whole like free game once a month that's a virtual console game, but it expires after the month is over.
That's just bizarre.
That's like your bonus. It's like, what? Come on, Nintendo. Like, how greedy do you have to be, really?
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. It doesn't inspire any sort of goodwill with I mean, why even bother giving away a game a month if you're going to take it back? And no one's going to be happy by that. These are things I hope that when they hear all the backlash, that by the time like they implement all this stuff, they start to walk it back. Just like with Xbox One.
So they're not exactly known for that. But.
No, I know. I have such high hopes, and then they're always crushed. But you know, like things do. I mean, if there's enough pushback, sometimes there is some change.
Like the whole online thing strikes me as weird because, like, okay, yeah, I get that it's kind of the standard now to charge for online play, and like Sony adopted the Microsoft model, and now Nintendo's adopting their model. But the problem with Nintendo is like they've had such bad online content for so long. Like none of their games are really based around online. It's like how many games do you really play on the Switch using online? Like Splatoon, I guess Mario Kart.
Yeah, and maybe Smash Brothers eventually.
It's you. Like, are you gonna pay like 8, 10, whatever bucks a month or $5 a month for just to play like 2 games online? Like that's
I won't.
So weird. Like Xbox Live, like, okay, you know, literally every game that comes out has a multiplayer component, pretty much. So like that's all right. Okay, you're accepted, but like it's 2, 3 games. It's just. Yeah, I get why they're doing it, but logically, I just can't see that being like a huge revenue stream for them, like Xbox Live is for Microsoft.
No, and again, like especially since this is a platform that, especially without third-party support, is really geared towards families and children, and that's not the best market for another subscription. You know, like these people are not, they're not going to want to pay. Like if you're a family and you're getting this for your kids, you're not going to want to pay for an online service that maybe only works with 2 or 3 games. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's a strange decision. And, you know, I don't even know. I guess hopefully it at least works well, but you know, I'm not, there's so many things to be worried about.
That's a pretty big baseline assumption.
Yeah, and then also for people who are buying this console as a secondary console, like maybe, you know, a PS4 owner or an Xbox One owner, they're already paying for at least 1 subscription, and so now that's going to be 2.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not going to, like, even, you know, I pre-ordered the system, you know, for work today. I probably wouldn't have done that otherwise, but like I'm certainly not going to pay for Nintendo Online. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, no way. Me either.
If I miss out on Splatoon online play, I don't know. But
well, I never play. I mean, I never play Mario Kart online. I always just play against the AI. And Splatoon, I hardly play to begin with. And Smash Brothers sometimes, but it's just not nearly enough to justify a monthly bill. So
yeah, I mean, one of the big titles that I'm going to play going to be Zelda, Mario, like stuff that doesn't require that at all. So.
They should have a Zelda online that's just like GTA Online.
Just throwing bombs at passersby. And
yeah. You can do heists and
actually that would actually be kind of awesome.
Probably make a lot of money that way, actually, yeah. Yeah, so you pre-ordered one? I went to Amazon to pre-order, and it was also...
Yeah, I did it at GameStop, and all they had was like the huge bundle that was like $500 it has like 4 or 5 games with it. Like it has pretty much every launch game, and I just found out that like 1-2 Switch is $50.
Whoa!
I thought it was like it'd be like $15-$20, but it's not a pack-in. Which first of all, it probably should be a pack-in because it's essentially the Wii Sports of, you know, the system. But if you buy it standalone, it's $50, which is
wow, that's crazy.
But, yeah, so that's the bundle I got. So I guess I'll get every launch game and just see how that goes. But
well, it'll be something to play. Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, really, all I need is Zelda to be happy at launch, and I know theoretically I could just get it for the Wii U, but I want to do it on the Switch. I think.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about this is like, you know, the diehard Nintendo people who already own a Wii U, are they going to spend $360 for Zelda and a Switch? Or are they just going to be like, oh, shoot, I'll just buy Zelda for my Wii U, and I don't have to buy a Switch for months and months, if ever. And
they could wait then until Christmas for a sale, or maybe to wait and see if there's really a compelling reason to buy one in the first place. So, and that's a pretty big, I mean, there weren't that many Wii U sold, but there were millions of them sold. And if millions of hardcore, diehard Nintendo fans are like, I'll just wait because I can buy Zelda for the Wii U. No, that's why I wrote a piece a while ago saying that they shouldn't release it for the Wii U. They should just do the Switch so that they can protect the Switch. But then everyone's like, no, they promised. And yeah, they did promise. So
yeah, I mean, they did screw that up. I mean, this was supposed to be out, a year and a half ago, for the Wii U. But if it had done that, now we'd be here, and Zelda wouldn't be a launch game anyone cared about as much, and then they'd be really screwed. So it probably worked out better this way, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
If it did, I know if they didn't have Zelda as a launch game, and it was like 1-2 Switch and Just Dance, like people would be losing their minds. And like we're being pretty pessimistic, but like it would be like disaster mode if they didn't have Zelda right now. Like that, they shouldn't even launch the console if that was the case.
It's interesting. Everyone was sort of guessing for a while that Zelda was going to get pushed back, and Mario would be a launch title. It would have been really amazing if they could have released both of them, though.
Yeah, I never really expected that because of I mean, I didn't know how far along they were, but like that would have really surprised me to just bust out like a fully completed 3 Mario game like right at launch. I mean, that would have been cool, but now I don't even think it'll make it this year, to be honest. But we'll see.
Yeah, and they really need first-person shooters. Like they're just really, really. I mean, they need to come up with something because Splatoon on its own as a shooter is just not going to cut it for most people. They need like serious shooters, and I am excited that maybe we'll see some games like maybe Pokemon or Fire Emblem on on the Switch as opposed to just always on 3DS. But I don't know. That again would be a huge sell.
Why would they? Okay, if there are any plans to bring Pokemon to the Switch, why wouldn't they have mentioned that? Like that is the hottest franchise on Earth right now because of Sun and Moon and Pokemon Go. Why would they not have just even teased a Pokemon game for their portable focused console?
Right, and a real Pokemon game, not like a Pokemon, mini game packaged as a Pokemon.
Even if it was like Pokemon Stars, which was like a straight adaptation of Sun and Moon for Switch. Even that, like that's not really what I want, but that alone would have been something. But like now it's like they're tiptoeing around like, oh, we don't want to hurt 3DS Sun and Moon sales. Like let's just kind of hold up. Like
they wouldn't though. They wouldn't hurt those sales.
No, I don't think it would, but
I don't think so. I mean, people are buying that on the 3DS already. It's already sold. I mean, sell it on the Switch now. Other people will buy it. A different market will buy it. Maybe people will buy it twice. You know, so a lot of people would buy it twice, I bet. Oh, well. Nintendo. Every time. All right. Well, I think we've covered all the ground on this one.
Yeah, probably. For now, at least.
Yeah. I guess we'll see what the next few weeks hold. And March is just around the corner.
It's so close. It's so weird to, like, be discussing the debut of this, and it's like, oh, it comes out in 40 days.
Yeah. I know.
Like, so strange. I've never seen a lead up like this ever.
Yeah. Real quick before we go, any games coming up in January or February that you're looking forward to?
Horizon Zero Dawn, and what is Halo Wars? That's soon, I think. Halo Wars.
Yeah.
And then Mass Effect in March. Those are my big three.
Okay.
I know you're excited for like Neo and stuff.
Yeah, how could you not be excited for Neo?
I've missed the hype train. I haven't played the demos and stuff. I'm sure it'll be good, but
it's hard.
Screenshots were nuts. Like the Neo screenshots. I'm like, okay, this is not how the game is going to look.
No, not at all. Cool. But they were pretty though. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to Nier Automata and Horizon Zero Dawn, and then of course into March we've got Mass Effect. I'm looking forward to. I'd have to check the release schedule to see what else is coming out.
Like good stuff coming out this kind of off season, but
in a hypothetical world, at the end of this month or the beginning of next, we would be seeing the release of Titanfall 2, the hotly anticipated sequel from Respawn.
When it should have come out,
but. Because there are a few good games, and there's a lot of other games that I don't really know that much about, but there's just not a ton coming out right now until March, really. So, Cool.
An interesting season with a new console launch in the spring, which never ever happens.
Well, now it does. See Nintendo marching to the beat of its own drum.
Yes, as always.
Cool, man. Well,
all right.
Thank you guys for listening and watching. And let us know what you think of the Switch in the comments. And peace.